In the heart of Whiskerwood Forest, Halloween was the most magical night of the year. All the animals, big and small, looked forward to the grand celebration where costumes, treats and spooky stories filled the air. Every year, the animals would gather for a parade through the woods, stopping by every tree hollow and burrow to collect goodies. This year, two best friends, Hazel the squirrel and Alger the fox, were more excited than ever. Hazel had spent weeks gathering materials to make her costume, while Alger had been practicing his howl to sound spooky. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the trees, Hazel climbed down from her treehouse, dressed in a bright orange pumpkin costume. Her round cheeks puffed out in excitement, and her bushy tail twitched behind her. "Alger, are you ready?" she called, scurrying to the edge of the clearing where Alger lived. A moment later, Alger bounded out from behind a bush, dressed in a wizard's robe, a pointed hat crooked on his head. He carried a small basket in his mouth, ready to be filled with treats. "Ready!" Alger barked, his tail wagging in anticipation. The two friends giggled as they trotted through the forest, the air crisp with the scent of autumn leaves. The first stop on their route was Mrs. Poppy's burrow. Mrs. Poppy was a kind old rabbit who always had the best carrot cookies. Her house was decorated with cobwebs made of spun sugar and glowing lanterns shaped like pumpkins. "Trick or treat!" Hazel and Alger chimed in unison as they approached her door. Mrs. Poppy, dressed as a friendly witch, opened the door with a wide smile. "Oh my, don't you two look adorable!" she exclaimed, handing them each a warm cookie fresh from the oven. "Be safe tonight, my dears, and watch out for any tricks." The two friends thanked her and scampered off, already munching on their cookies as they made their way deeper into the forest. As they passed under the towering oak trees, the moon rose higher in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the forest floor. The sounds of other animals laughing and chattering could be heard in the distance. But something felt different this year. The wind began to whistle a little louder, and the trees seemed to creak and groan as if whispering secrets to one another. Alger's ears twitched. "Do you feel that, Hazel?" he asked, stopping in his tracks. "It feels spookier than usual." Hazel twitched her nose and glanced around, her big eyes scanning the darkening woods. "I think it's just Halloween magic," she said with a grin, though a small shiver ran down her spine. As they continued walking, the path they knew so well suddenly seemed unfamiliar. The trees grew closer together, their branches twisting above like bony fingers. The familiar forest trail had vanished, replaced by a dark, winding path that neither of them recognized. "We're not lost, are we?" Alger asked, his whiskers twitching nervously. "I don't think so," Hazel said, though her voice wavered. "Maybe this is just a new part of the forest we've never explored." Just then, a soft rustling noise came from the bushes nearby. Hazel and Alger froze, their hearts racing. From the shadows emerged a small figure, tiny and covered in leaves. It was Oliver, the hedgehog, dressed in a ghost costume made from a torn piece of white cloth. "You scared us!" Hazel exclaimed, clutching her basket of treats tightly. Oliver chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just trying to find my way back to the main trail. I think I took a wrong turn." "Looks like we did too," Alger said, glancing around. "Do you want to join us? We can all find our way back together." Oliver nodded eagerly. "Sure. I don't want to be out here alone." The three friends ventured onward, keeping close together as the woods around them grew darker. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, a distant hoot from an owl, the rustling of leaves, and something that sounded suspiciously like footsteps behind them. "Did you hear that?" Oliver whispered, his quills bristling slightly. Hazel and Alger nodded, their eyes wide with worry. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a huge shadow swooped down from the treetops. The three friends shrieked in unison and ducked, expecting the worst. But instead of a terrifying monster, they looked up to see Benny the Bat, flapping his wings and laughing. "Gotcha!" Benny cackled, hanging upside down from a low branch. "Benny!" That wasn't funny, Hazel scolded, though she couldn't help but laugh a little now that her heart had stopped racing. I'm just getting into the Halloween spirit, Benny said, grinning. What are you all doing out here? This part of the forest is full of tricks. We got lost, Alger explained. Do you know how to get back to the main trail? Benny nodded, still chuckling. I do. Follow me and I'll lead you back. But be careful, there are some spooky surprises along the way. With Benny leading the way, the friends continued their Halloween adventure through the woods. The path remained eerie, but having Benny with them made them feel a little braver. They encountered all kinds of spooky sights, glowing jack-o'-lanterns hidden among the trees, branches that looked like they were reaching out to grab them, and even a mysterious fog that rolled across the ground, swirling around their feet. As they rounded a bend in the path, a strange, flickering light appeared ahead. The animals approached cautiously, their curiosity piqued. In the middle of a small clearing, they saw a giant, glowing pumpkin sitting atop a tree stump. It was the biggest pumpkin any of them had ever seen, with a face carved into it that seemed to be grinning right at them. Whoa, Alger whispered. Where did that come from? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath the pumpkin began to shake. Hazel, Alger, Oliver and Benny backed away as the pumpkin started to glow even brighter. And then, poof! A puff of purple smoke filled the air. When the smoke cleared, standing where the pumpkin had been was none other than the mysterious Madame Moonshadow, the wise owl who lived deep in the forest. Her large, round eyes gleamed in the moonlight, and her feathers shimmered with magic. Welcome, little ones, Madame Moonshadow said in a deep, soothing voice. I see you found my enchanted pumpkin. The animals stared in awe. Is it magic? Hazel asked, her eyes wide. Madame Moonshadow nodded. Indeed it is. Every year on Halloween night, this pumpkin glows with the spirit of the forest, reminding all creatures of the magic that surrounds us. But tonight, I sense that you have wandered off the beaten path. We got lost, Oliver admitted, shuffling his feet. And we've been seeing some spooky things, Alger added. Madame Moonshadow smiled kindly. The forest is full of surprises on Halloween. Some are meant to frighten, but others are meant to teach us something important. Teach us? Hazel asked, her head tilting in curiosity. Madame Moonshadow nodded again. Yes, tonight you've shown bravery, friendship and kindness. You didn't give up when you were scared, and you helped each other along the way. That's the real magic of Halloween, the spirit of togetherness, no matter how spooky things get. The friends exchanged smiles, feeling a sense of pride in their little adventure. Madame Moonshadow flapped her wings and hovered above them, her voice soft and wise. Now, it's time for you to return to the celebration. But before you go, let me give you a gift. She waved her wings, and suddenly their baskets, which had been half filled with treats, were now overflowing with candies, cookies, and glowing acorns. Wow! Alger gasped. Thank you, Madame Moonshadow, they all cheered. Go on now, Madame Moonshadow said, her eyes twinkling. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween, and remember, the magic of the forest is always with you. With that, the friends followed the path that Benny had shown them, their baskets full and their hearts light. As they rejoined the other animals at the Halloween festival, the air was filled with laughter, and the forest no longer seemed so spooky. That night, as Hazel and Alger snuggled up in their tree houses, they reflected on their adventure. They had seen spooky sights, faced strange paths, and encountered magical creatures. But in the end, it was their friendship and bravery that had made the night so special. And as they drifted off to sleep, they knew one thing for sure. This had been the best Halloween ever.